a Q&A later on in the chat. Again, this is a Life Moves podcast, all about dance, all about choreography, all about being dancers, teachers, studio owners, all those great things. It's going to be so much fun today. We'll be bringing on Michael Montoya, a hip-hop choreographer, creative, vocalist, tattoo artist, father, all-around great guy here in a few moments. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for coming and joining us today. We have a few people signing in here. Let's go and say hello. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can wave to people. I'm not as familiar with the Instagram Live as the other platforms, but I'm learning quickly. This is a lot of fun for us. Cool. Thank you again for joining. We'll get started here in just a few moments. Life Moves podcast, talking about dance in cinema today. So we'll be chatting all kinds of films, movie musicals, your favorite entertainment, including great dance scenes and works of choreography. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what inspires you. We want to connect with you. So make sure you comment. Here we go. Bringing in Michael Montoya. Da, 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 da. Wait 1 second.
What
Hello.
up? I am so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So sorry for my tardiness.
It's all good. That happened to
Man.
me last night with Dance Cardio. We had to restart the feed after we sent out the link to everyone. It was a hot mess.
That's a nightmare. Yeah, it's because I'm trying to set up. I have all these different devices going to set up to record so that way people could see it after the fact and all this. And it's like a bunch of running around.
Whoop.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to close the door for a second here.
No worries.
Woo.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome,
Life
welcome.
Moves Podcast, episode 4. We are talking dance and cinema. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining today. Well, you're the main man, so I should say welcome for joining. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, thank you.
So first of all, how you doing, man? What's new? What's going on?
Not a whole lot, just a lot of dadding, a lot of waiting around for stuff, and, same thing everybody's doing, trying to keep busy, trying to keep positive, and trying to walk that fine, weird little political line we're all in right now.
How's your garden going?
Garden's going good. Get tomatoes, man. We're getting some tomatoes, sprouting out here and there.
Isn't
That's
that
pretty
fun?
awesome. And you've got a huge garden.
Yeah, we keep the gardening at my parents' house. My main house, we haven't gotten to the gardening yet, but my parents' place, we have a huge garden, and it's kind of our sanity to get out there and get in the dirt and play around. And like you said, man, it's gonna be a tomato season. We kind of overdid it. My father made a comment this morning. He's like, we should probably pull some of these out because we're not gonna be able to take care of this. But we are moving forward with our garden. We'll have garden talk. Again, we are chatting today about dance and cinema, which I think is a really cool topic. I spent the morning reconnecting with things that I needed to get some more info on and make sure I knew who directed what and starred in what. But wow, what a cool topic. And I've already invited people to join in and chat with us along the way and send us their favorite movies, favorite dance scenes. I know I included one TV show on my list. I don't know if that's allowed, only because it's so important to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to say something about this. I don't know.
I'm intrigued. I wonder if it's what I think it is, but I'm intrigued as to what it would be.
It's totally random, so I doubt it's what you think it might be. That would be really amazing.
All right.
So where do you want to begin? This is a topic that could have sprung from your mind. So where are we going with this?
Let me tell you a little bit of the predicament I'm in from all the running around I was just doing. So I put out on Instagram yesterday, just asking people favorite moments, dance moments in film, and I got some amazing replies from a lot of different people. Stuff I've heard of, stuff I never thought of, stuff I've never heard of. And the device that I was going to record this conversation on kind of went a little bit kaput.
Oh, no.
So I had to use my phone that had all these notes, and I was able to look up these people that said this is in the other room recording this conversation right now. So if anybody's out there that left a comment saying, suggesting a film, in the comments right now, we're talking about your favorite dance moments in cinema and television. Let's, throw it out there, cinema, television. and I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to try to go off of memory a little bit, but one,
That's awesome.
I'll start with throwing one out there that I think has been very influential to me. There's
Uh-oh, Michael, you're cutting out a little bit on us here. I'm not sure if it's just me, Michael, but you're cutting it out a little bit. Let's see if we can get Michael back in here. Let's see if we can connect again with Michael. Sorry, everyone, having some technical difficulties. Thank you, Emma. Opening scene from Austin Powers Goldmember. Super fun. There's a lot of really good dancing in the Austin Powers movies. A few of my friends in LA were in some of those opening sequences or dance numbers. They really went full out, like really full out with their dancing. It's been okay. We're connected with Michael again here. Let's see.
hello.
Hello.
No idea what happened. Before we move on, we should probably let people know that this specific Brady Bunch format here is temporary. We've been talking about getting a setup where we can where we can do this in person, maybe a 2-camera set. I mean, something where we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff here. So thank you for your patience, everybody.
Oh, good. We've been chatting. No problem. So what was your movie you're throwing in, Michael? I totally missed it.
So Tap, the movie Tap. There's the opening scene. Gregory Hines is in prison, and the movie Tap is like a who's who of tap dance, especially of that era. I think the movie came out like maybe 87, 88, somewhere around there. And I mean, it featured like a little 8, 9-year-old Savion Glover. Well, Gregory Hines, the whole opening scene specifically, there's a sequence that opens the movie, and it's Gregory Hines who wakes up, and he's in this small jail cell, and it has that very cinematic blue tint, and he's having this anxiety attack, and he's breathing, and he's just listening. He's trying to just kind of, essentially he's trying to just kind of find any kind of rhythm, any kind of groove, so that way he can just mellow himself out. So he's sitting up in his jail cell and he's breathing, anxiety. And he's just breathing, he just listens, and he hears little drops here, that, and he starts forming this pattern, buddy. And he starts grabbing his tap shoes and he puts them on. And it's this shot, just this kind of wide shot where you just see his silhouette standing in the middle of the frame like this. And like, say this is where's my finger? Where's my other finger? Say this is the jail cell right up in here. He's right here just dancing. And you see the silhouette and he's just moving more. And you hear all these other prisoners like, shut up, man. And before you know it, he's like slamming his feet from one wall to the other. And it just goes faster. Till he just drops like this release. Then it cuts to the next day where he's getting out of prison. And you realize the anxiety wasn't about him necessarily being caged up. It was about, he's about to be free. Who is he? And then it's like the struggle. But it establishes this is who this man is. This is his rhythm centric. He's very rhythm centric, and this is how he communicates. This is how he deals with stuff. The movie Tap, if you haven't seen it, it's incredible.
It's so good. Yeah, it's actually on my list as well. There's quite a few sequences. I like the studio sequence too. The studio sequence where I think it starts with Savion in there kind of rehearsing by himself, and then like the elders kind of come in and groove it. It's really just amazing.
Yeah, it's like Sandman and like all these really old school heads, It's fun. It's one of the great things about cinema in film is sometimes like that it captures these pioneers and people that go unnoticed, because a lot of firsts, a lot of pioneers really get the crappy end of the stick. They just don't, get recognized. And you see something like this, I mean, it's history. It's this little museum on film of these old school dancers still doing it. It's yeah, it's incredible. So tap was definitely one of my choices, something that I still to this day will draw inspiration from. That one moment, I love it. I mean, that whole movie in general, but there's something about that one moment. I'm like, you could do
Right.
that on stage.
Totally. One of the first to come to my mind, because I was such a Disney kid growing up, and Disney was such an important time and content producer when I was a child, would be Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the chimney sweepers, Dick Van Dyke and his grooves, and even looking back, I went through some YouTube videos. Like even Julie Andrews got down a few times in some sequences. Like it's such a good, especially when they combine the cartoon. I mean, I know that was done different moments with different people, but the way they did it, it was so entertaining. What a cool moment for children to participate in and see live action and mix with that. But the chimney sweepers for me was, as a kid, was the best. Like they're dirty.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just
They're
the momentum
around.
of it. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, like the whole parkour-ness of it. I mean,
Yeah.
It was just incredible. So there's so many Disney. I also pulled up Chitty Chitty Bang Bang only because there's a chocolate factory scene where they're rolling around on the chocolate trays and they're
right.
them around and they're doing leaves. I love props, so that was a really great film. But another Gregory Hines movie that was huge because it showed two men doing ballet and tap was White Nights.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me just because I was doing ballet at the time growing up, and Gregory Hines with his tapping and Mikhail Bushnikov when they had the pirouette competition in the studio, and it's a good movie too. It's just about him coming to the States and leaving Russia. It's really fabulous. White Nights, if you haven't seen it.
White Nights. A couple people have mentioned that on Instagram. Jez mentioned that. A couple people mentioned
1985
too. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was before tap, I believe.
With Gregory Hines. Taylor
Anything with Gregory Hines. Gregory Hines is he's a breed of dancer that really doesn't exist the way that they do. It's I love watching Gregory Hines tap. That it's this great balance of masculinity but gracefulness, working cohesively together, not jeopardizing or sacrificing one for the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any old videos of Gregory Hines going on award shows and not even having anything planned. He's just talking to the audience, "What's up, guys?" And he's just kind of just going for it. It's
so like smooth.
Magic.
He's a showman.
Piggyback off of the Disney thing, the Mary Poppins. Yeah, I've always been drawn to Step in Time. All the reasons you said. I'm always drawn to any kind, even though it's Mary Poppins, you don't think this deeply into it. But there's something about these chimney sweeps, dirty, gringy, and blah, blah, blah. They're the bottom of society. They're the chimney sweepers, for goodness sake. Blah, these guys. Yet there's this embrace of celebration of what we have. They're the chimney tops and the beauty of all this. And I've always loved that. It's almost like, oh man, that probably another good one is the party scene, even though it's not a dance sequence per se. The party scene, it kind of a good example of what I'm talking about. The moment in Titanic where Jack tells Rose, "So you want to go to a real party?"
Right.
Smash cut to, and suddenly these lower decks, the people in the lower decks, this just celebration, the culture of the dances they're doing, down to the instruments, down to everything. We may have nothing, but we have this. Right. And I think there's something about the chimney sweep that I really loved about that. And also the moment where Dick Van Dyke's dancing with the penguins, from an animation point of view and a choreographer's point of view, when you look at that, they had run into these problems during the choreography, when Dick Van Dyke's doing his little movements, waddle movements like a dolphin, like a penguin. and he's kicking, spinning around, kicking. Well, in the animation, he's kicking through the penguins, not
Right.
dolphins. He's kicking through these penguins. So the animators, if you look closely, the animation of the penguins is integrated with the choreography, and they're like
Right.
dodging and weaving all these little kicks and jumping over
Right.
his feet and doing all this
Right.
stuff. It's like, yeah, Mary
Yeah.
Poppins is
This
definitely
is
one of those
this
things.
is way before we had the sensor suits of like Happy
Oh
Feet.
yeah,
And, this is so raw, just
he's dancing
hard
off
work.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. Who else we got out there? Does anybody have any suggestions? We're talking about dance moments in cinema. But while we do that, I'm going to throw out, let me see, one that would be. I have a couple that I could throw. Well, I'll mention a few that I remember that people mentioned to me. One mention that I thought was kind of cool was Pee Wee Herman and Pee Wee's Big Adventure in the bar scene.
Yep.
That is incredible. If you do a whole pass at that as a whole, as a sequence, from the moment he enters the bar, from the moment he leaves, it's genius. So yeah, I agree. My brother said that. A couple people had mentioned that one. Some person. This is deep cuts nerdy stuff. There's this old movie, 80s movie called Rad. That's about BMX freestyle biking, and there's a scene where the lead, Crew Jones, who's this bike guy, he meets this other teenage gal who's also a freestyle biker, and he meets his match, and they go to their prom, but they have this weird, really weird dance sequence in the middle of a circle in their prom on their bikes, doing these slow tricks. And it was to that one song, "Send Me an Angel." Remember that? Oh. And it's just like, so that was mentioned. It's just funny because you think cinema and dance, and you always think these big amazing moments, whether it's like Gene Kelly,
Right.
whether it's Fred Astaire, whether it's you name it. But then there's also like the Napoleon Dynamites.
Totally.
There's the Uma Thurmans and the John Travoltas in
Uh-huh.
Jackrabbit Slim, as was mentioned by by Hondro, I think. Just as I
What was
love weird old prom scenes. Teen Wolf, yeah, Teen Wolf they had a wolf dance in there.
what was that one film? It was a prom scene where they had a dance break, and it was like Freddie Prinze Jr. and someone else. And it was that funk. So, brother,
Brother,
check
check
it
it
out.
out now. Yeah, the
Yeah,
funk soul, brother.
not sure what
I
that was,
think
but
that
it
was
was a
Wade
great.
Robinson who choreographed that as well too, wasn't it? Or
I think so.
am I
I'm not
wrong?
sure.
It would have been right
Um,
within that little time frame, but I could have sworn it was. Could be
one
wrong.
one of the movies I have in here, which is I think some of the most epic numbers, is The Wiz.
Yeah.
Amazing dance breaks, great music, great, obviously iconic actors. I have Moulin Rouge was a big, more recent movie, but Baz Luhrmann with his visuals and the choreography was so big. The tango scene with the tango dancers was incredible. But I think for me it was a combination of the visuals and movement put together with the
Yeah.
lighting and costuming. It was just such a spectacle and so bright and so powerful for me. And the way it was filmed too, it was really creatively done with speeding up film and rolling it back and timing and levels. And it was really a masterclass on energy. And that's the same thing he did with Romeo and Juliet too. But
Yeah.
with movement, with working with his choreographers, it was just so go. She's all that. That's the name of it. Thank you,
She's all
Teddy.
that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Those, I mean, yeah, even aside from like musicals, I mean, just sequences that are just moments, just energy. The parade scene on Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Twist and Shout.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's a great example of something like that. One dance moment that I've always admired is from a comedy in the around the same 88, 89, around the same time as Tap, Coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
There's this dance sequence that takes place during this wedding at the very beginning, where Eddie Murphy's character Prince Hakeem has an arranged marriage with another princess from some other kingdom, and he's about to see his wife for the first time at the altar, and it's this gigantic, I mean, it was a huge production. So they're in this castle, and then they have this ceremonial dance, you know, these dancers that come out in this African gowns of arms, and the dance itself is incredible. I don't know if you get away with it nowadays because it was actually choreographed by Paula Abdul doing the West African dance. But with that being said, the choreography, what she did with that was really incredible. If you take another pass and just look at Coming to America, just the dance sequence Paula Abdul did for the wedding, it's nuts. The movements, you could see so many different styles in there. You can definitely see almost Laker Girl style-esque things. You can see traces of social dances of that time. You can see a lot of African dances, but I thought that moment was very powerful, and I think that really sold the grandness of that kingdom and of the moment.
Right. That's awesome. Any other movies people want to throw out? We have Burlesque, 50 Days of Summer. I think that's the one with who did that dance? That dude, I can't remember his name, from Third Rock from the Sun. I can't remember his name.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes.
Is 50 Days of Summer? Is there a dance in that? Is that the one?
It's in the park where they're like, you know, they all come together. Obviously, like a movie musical moment, but the movie itself has nothing to do with like musicals at all. It just has like a random. It's good.
Well, there's, you know, Coley Curry had mentioned Ex Machina. Is it Machina, Ex Machina, where Poe Dameron's dancing with the robot? Have you ever seen
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? All right. So the guy Oscar Isaac, you know, he's like this eccentric kind of like Tony Stark, Elon Musk type of deal, and he's building robot people and whatnot, and he has this very, you know, this it looks obviously like a dancer. There's this woman who's like this android, and at one point he just flips off the music, and she's just very just spacey. She's a robot, and flips on the music, and he goes out there and he programs her to like do these dance routines with him, and it's like this disco things, and just that moment is so incredible because I was like, I would do
I have
that.
to check that out.
I would do that. That moment is pretty amazing. But yeah, it's not a dance movie, nothing like that, but that moment's pretty incredible. What's the TV thing that you were talking about?
Going back to Disney.
Okay.
Kids Incorporated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's only on for 2 years.
Was it really?
Reruns, it was only on for 2 years from 84 to 86, but then the reruns kicked back in and ran for a long time until 96. Man. So maybe it was an expensive production. I mean, obviously Mickey Mouse Club was amazing, but for some reason, my sister and I loved Kids Incorporated on Disney Channel. They had musical numbers, they sang. I think there was even more dancing than there was on Mickey Mouse Club. It was so awesome. So that was a TV show I really connected with, was Kids Incorporated on Disney.
And it was like a group of teenagers, right, that worked at a nightclub, and they were the entertainment at like a teen nightclub, right? And so they're always, it's almost like Purple Rain, where they're always backstage, like, all our troubles at school and all this. Time to hit the stage, guys, in 10 minutes. They're like, all right. And they have to like get over whatever fights they are to go out to sing, you know, whatever it is.
Sounds like me and my cousins going to Cactus Moon teen night.
Yeah. Man. I think one of the most the scenes that influenced me, I'm trying to think of other dance sequences that influenced me more. It's such a small little thing. Is the dance battle and house party. The dance battle and house party really sculpted, you know, that's where I was like, that's what I do. That's me, and that's my friend. Because at that point in time, again, that's about 88. I think House Party came out in 1988, something like that. I was seventh grade, I think, somewhere seventh grade, something like that. And I started dancing, like all the Running Man, all the street social dance stuff, somewhere around fifth grade, something like that. So this hit right at that point in time. And from that point in time, it was like, all right, Me and my boy are going to get routines together. So when we go to dances, when we go to this and da da da, we're looking for those circles, and we're going to slay people. We're going to slay whoever. And there are other people that would do that same thing. They, you know, people that would be good dancers, and they'd have friends, and they would get routines together. And, you know, when the occasion arose, you know, you'd go head to head, and it was like house party, and it was incredible. But yeah, house party. It's for those who don't know, house party's a movie, kid and play. Kid is in high school. He gets into a fight at school, gets grounded, and so he can't go to plays. This kid, his best friend, plays house party because his parents are out of town. So he sneaks out of his house to go to the party. So the whole movie is his adventure, sneaking out of the house, going to the party, being chased by bullies. The cops get involved. His dad's looking for him. But within this party, you know, this little dance battle breaks out in the middle of this circle. And such a great little contrast with all the urban, you know, the atmosphere, the landscape, the soundtrack, because there's an element of the movie that's pretty hard. And then again, the grace and the hard, you know, the hard edge really contrast really nice off each other. But yeah, that little dance battle was always hugely a big influence with me when I was younger.
The movie that my sister probably ran through the VHS a couple of times was probably Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
It was always on. It was always on TV whenever you were homesick, or my sister was always watching it, but that was one that was always going.
Yeah.
Like, sure, there were some really adult themes in that movie, and my parents just kind of let us roll with it.
As most parents do. It's so funny because most people who know that movie are like, I grew up watching that movie. And then when you look back at that movie, you're like, oh, I wouldn't let my kid watch this.
I mean, like Dirty Dancing, obviously, but like there's, you know, the whole scene with the woman's health situation and the parents not wanting her to be there and the love and the, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know it's Kenny Ortega who directed that movie, but do you know who choreographed? Who was the choreographer on that?
I actually have the IMDb up. 1 second. Let me see.
I know what that movie was. The stars really aligned with that movie. I think it's, you know, Patrick Swayze is the one who really tied all that together because his mom was like, wasn't she like a professional ballroom dancer? And he grew up.
His mom was the founder of Jazzercise.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and
that's incredible.
I actually took from her at Jazz Dance World Congress one year, and
whoa.
I mean, she's the one in those videos, the Jazzercise videos that are hysterical. I have to pull one up. It is so freaking funny. But yeah, Jazzercise, she worked it out.
Yeah.
All right,
but yeah, Kenny Ortega, who I think directed that, he was also a choreographer as well.
I think he might have choreographed it because it says the director here is Emilio.
Okay.
Emil Ardinello. And then let me see.
That's yeah, Kenny Ortega, I think, choreographed. Okay. Yeah. So, and Kenny Ortega also is, you know, he directed I think he directed the High School Musical movies later on. But he also he did when Michael Jackson started to do his own solo tours, he did the Bad tour. Well, first he was touring with his brothers. He never did a tour with Thriller. Then he did the Bad tour. And then after the Bad tour, he wanted to do something more of a spectacle. He wanted his stage performance to be more like a magic show, pyrotechnics and all these different things. And Kenny Ortega was hired on to direct the Dangerous tour, I believe. And I think he was like the director, the creative director for Dangerous, for like his history tour and a lot of This Is It. He did that whole This Is It thing with him as well too.
He directed the TV adaptation of Dirty Dancing.
Okay.
I guess there's a TV version, and now he's actually redoing Dirty Dancing. There's gonna be a new one. That's just been announced. He also did Newsies.
They're probably gonna be twerking.
Oh, they're gonna be twerking it out. Talk about dirty dancing.
Really dirty. I think he directed Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. Fame, the iconic
I mean, you have to mention Fame. You have in this whole conversation, like, you know, Fame is huge. Talk about dealing with a lot of mature themes and stuff like that, especially within the movie. There's a whole audition scene in that. That's just like, oh. and you hear about a lot of stuff going on, you know, in current time, the Me Too movement and all this, and it's just way ahead of its time in that respect. And with fame comes Debbie Allen, Janet Jackson, where I think was one of her first acting gigs, aside from I think she was on what is it, Good Times, something like that. Anyways, but Debbie Allen, man, Debbie Allen is if you're a dancer, a choreographer that's interested in film or filmmaking, I spent hours just listening to Debbie Allen talk. Find interviews, long form interviews of her talking about film, because everything she talks about is from the point of view of a dancer. She's like, I don't really understand how to do this except for through the eyes of dance. And everything she kind of talks through with film is rhythmic, and it's just something that's so relatable to people like us that have to move to think. She has to move to create, and she's just really, you know, developed this whole little science. I'm always fascinated by these dancers and choreographers that have done a lot of this stuff, that have a lot of this type of wisdom. I know I've listened to I can't remember if it's Tony Basil or Tony Basil. I think it's Basil, right?
Oh,
Hey,
Lord.
Vicky, you're so fun. You're so fun.
Yeah, I know who it is. I'm very familiar, but Basil, I don't know.
Well, she of course did the "Hey Mickey, You're So Fine."
Basil.
She's that one hit wonder. But amongst the dance community, she's very well known because she's been a choreographer for years and years, and you know, and she was part of the landscape of like the original Locking Crew and of a lot of these people. But she's talked about one little thing I've heard her say that has always stuck with me. She talked about dances within period pieces. Like if you're doing a period piece and there's any kind of dance sequences, whatever, she said you could always tell when it's false, because the dancers are just doing the routines. They're just doing the movements, the choreography, which are the social dances of the time and all that stuff. But she said that, or how does she put it? The choreography of what they're doing looks false because it looks more current than it does of that time. And she talked about how she would always, whatever period piece she's working on, she would make the dancers learn all the social dances at that time, the mashed potatoes, the this, the that, you know, all the boogaloo, all these different movements, and understand the way people moved. How did they move? When they groove, how did they do it? There's an undergroove within every time period, every era. The way people danced in the 60s, just even in club atmospheres, you know, it's very kind of head, you know, these kind of head bop things and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the groove. And then you go up into the 70s and the 80s. And in the 80s, everything started to get a little bit more bouncy here, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then you get into the 90s and you get into this. And it's like all this deep, 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 deep. And, you know, and now you look at a lot of the street, the social dances and all these kids on the TikToks. It's all these set of twos. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's this like this very, you know, every era has this undergroove that determines the groove of the dance. And so if you have somebody of this era doing something from the 1960s and they're doing the choreography, but the undergroove is off, it's not going to be right. They need to study the social dances of that era to understand the mechanics of how you move. And then when you do the choreography, it's going to be a little bit more natural. But in it of itself, it was just a huge eye opener for me because I'm like, man, she just gave subtext to dance, the undergroove of dance within certain eras and how to, you know, I don't know, that always resonated with me. It always resonated with me. She was like an assistant choreographer, like on the Tammy Show, which is where James Brown did the Night Train performance, like that famous Night Train performance. She was there. She saw that stuff. She was there when like the Rolling Stones. Like it's crazy to me that these people are still alive, you know. And
I saw a few years back a show in Vegas. And it was Bette Midler, and she choreographed that. This was only like 6-7 years ago. Crazy.
Yeah.
Still working it. She had a viral video recently of her just grooving in her garage.
Bette Midler?
Awesome.
What was she doing?
No, Tony.
Oh, she was ruining her garage?
Grooving in her
Oh,
garage.
okay. I thought that you said there's a video of Bette Midler ruining her garage. I was like,
There
where
might
are we
be.
talking about that right now? I thought it was gonna be as like another Madonna meltdown with the milk bath.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I know. But
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I know that right now, well, not right now, because nobody's doing anything right now, but they were in the middle of filming the new West Side Story movie, which is directed by Steven Spielberg. And
Wow.
Steven Spielberg is somebody who, just the way that, you know, the camera moves, just his collaboration with the cinematographer. I don't think that Steven Spielberg had ever really storyboarded anything. He always said that's part of the fun, just showing up there and framing it on the spot and figuring it out. And if you look at
Mhm.
the takes and you look at, you know, everything that he does in film, there's such rhythm to it. He moves and makes film like a dancer, his team, his
Mhm.
cinematographer. So I'm really interested to see what he's going to do with the musical, especially West Side Story. Yeah,
And it'd be interesting to see the people he'll surround himself with too.
yeah. And
You know,
Steven
who,
Spielberg is also very famous for using a lot of one single takes as well too. And I'm hoping to see a lot of that because now we're so cut heavy in film, and especially dance. You know, you get people shooting dance, and you're like, man, there's obviously people behind the camera, behind the scenes that just don't understand dance because the frame is like right here where we are here, and they're dancing like this and here, and then when they do wide shots, they do it for a moment, and then you could. It's just it's all in the
well,
editing, and
I,
we're
I
back
think,
in at a certain point in time. It was a lot of very long single takes, very wide takes, and you could see this performance unfolding. And I'm hoping to see more of that in this West Side Story movie.
I think when you see those films that are edited so hard that is a indication of, you know, those big American in Paris type scenes back in the day where there was just one shot and there was so much going on.
Yeah,
That took a ton of people. It took massive sound stages, massive operations, from costuming to the rigging crew. I mean, it was so big that's so rare
yeah,
nowadays because now you can have a group of 8 dancers, and with editing, you can make them look like there's 50, you know, but it
yeah,
takes so much more work to have these like
yeah.
epic grand scale sequences.
And
So people
everybody
are
wants.
talking about, go
No, no,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
Some people on the feed early on, I think it was when you were coming back on the feed, where they're bringing up all the different dance openers of Austin Powers and how big
Yeah.
they were, you know. It was huge. I think that was Margaret Derricks who did all those. But yeah, fun, a lot of 60s movement, a lot of,
Yeah.
like you said, like the head bops and a little like kind of
Right.
Fosse-esque things, but not Fosse-esque things. You know, it was really, really awesome.
Yeah. I know, trying to think of a couple of things that people had brought up. There was a few people that had mentioned center stage, the
Yeah, I
dress
have it on my
reveal,
list.
the dress reveal moment. Center stage was mentioned a couple times. What else was mentioned a few times here? La La Land. La La Land got brought up as well too. A couple sequences on La La Land, which I have to admit I've actually never seen La La Land. I'm a
Michael.
I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud. I'll get.
um,
I'm gonna get
Mandy
to it.
Moore choreographed.
Is
Very
that
good.
Mandy Moore?
Hmm.
Man, it's her name has just gotten so big.
Yeah, she really blew up with "So You Think You Could Dance," and
Yeah.
then I think her career kind of got a jolt of energy. I had the privilege of early on working with her quite a bit, assisting her with LADF and a few other conventions, and she was a hardcore choreographer, teacher,
I remember hearing stories from a lot.
individual.
Because didn't she come to the U of A a couple times as well too and work with?
Um, I not with our crew. She might have come for showcase or something,
Okay.
but um, when I was on scholarship at the Edge doing Dance of the Force, we had to go to nationals in a few of the cities to actually assist the teachers, and she was on the convention circuit at the time. And She put us through it. I mean, she really tested our dance knowledge and our choreography um, ways of picking up. I remember being on stage with her, and she'd say, "Okay, assistants, I want you to change directions every 2/8 counts. Here we go, 5, 6, 7. We'd have to just do it." And
Yeah.
this crazy long contemporary piece, and she's like, "Right, now I want my assistants to go throughout the room. They're gonna face you." We're like, "Okay, we have to reverse this and just go." It was fun, but she was tough.
Yeah.
She actually kicked me off stage once for not knowing the choreography. I like missed like one step, and into the mic she's like, "Get off my stage." Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I,
I
I've
mean,
I've heard a
good
lot of
lesson, I
stories
guess.
about that, about how she has just always been known to really shake up the status quo of things, even
Yeah,
especially with when it comes to body types in dance. You know, you hear a lot. I remember hearing a lot about that kind of stuff too.
right.
Um, but yeah, Mandy Moore, yeah,
She's an incredible dancer to watch too. Like I remember her in the faculty shows at the conventions. I mean, girl could turn. Woo! I mean, she was. I remember she'd always wear like those old school lace up jazz shoes. I'm like, damn, she's working those old school jazz shoes, kicking and leaping and turning. And she did. She actually, I think, applied for Edge scholarship and didn't get it, and then came back as a master teacher, and then came back as a master choreographer. Now she's doing feature film, which is amazing. So it goes to show you,
she's an
don't give up.
Academy Award winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, did her choreography win? She won for, didn't she win a choreography award for that?
I think she won. I think the choreography award was through the Golden Globe. I don't know if the Academy Awards has anything like that. I think
Okay,
she won a Golden Globe or something. But I know she has many Emmys for So You Think.
okay.
Uh,
Huh. I'm trying to think what other Disney always had a lot of stuff. Oh, there was a couple moments. One I remember somebody had brought up was Billy Elliot's audition as being a moment that they felt was very powerful.
so emotional and very 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 powerful. Even that scene where he's dancing down the street and his like the sort of glossy rained on sidewalks and was it Ireland?
I was it. I want to say so. It's been a while. I need to do another pass at that movie
Yeah.
because I haven't seen that movie in a long time, and I'll probably understand so much more now than I
We
would.
actually had a student through, I think it was right when TDC was transitioning to Breakout, who auditioned. I actually got a call from a friend who was in, I think he might have been in Phoenix. I'm not sure if it was Phoenix or LA. And we had a kid that was sort of just training with us. He wasn't really on team, but he was training with us, who could sing and could dance. He was really young, could do gymnastics. And we sent him to the audition, and he booked the national tour of Billy Elliot. It was really cool. I mean, totally changed his life.
Man,
And he was like 11 when this happened.
yeah,
Uh,
it's it's incredible that the power of these kind of moments because it could be something big and grand like the shake your tail feather sequence on Blues Brothers,
mhm.
or it could be as small as Uma Thurman and John Travolta dancing at
Right.
on the tabletop at Jack Rabbit Slims, and but
I have
what
a funny, I have a funny story about that movie, Pulp Fiction.
uh-huh.
Uh, my mother thought that was a dance film, and she doesn't like scary or shoot 'em ups or anything. So she went with my father, and she thought it was a dance movie. So needless to say, a little bit of a shock.
Wait, why did you think it was a dance movie?
Just because the trailer had them like doing their thing.
But see how powerful it is. It's that kind of, there you go. But
My
that
mom might be
moment
watching
is
too.
so iconic. Just doing, the Batman, this is called the Batman dance and
Yeah,
whatnot, and doing all these different things. And it's not like these people just getting down. It's these
right,
two people that are just kind of like meh, and just drugged up and. But
right.
there's just something really powerful about seeing just these two people up there
Yeah.
and just saying screw it. you know
Well,
I
yeah,
think that's what I think the liberation of it all. I think people, for me, I can't speak for everybody or generally, but oh, there's your mom right here. What is she saying?
It had John Travolta. I just thought it would be dancing when I was horrified for years.
I mean, there you go. That does lend to it, and it has John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever. We have to mention
Yeah.
Saturday
Oh,
Night
yeah.
Fever. You
Oh
know,
my God.
yeah. But there's something about watching dance on film for me that feels so liberating. Like, yes, I want to just feel like that. I don't want to feel the stress of this, the weight of that, thinking about this, thinking about that. It's like I wish there were these moments where everything just like suddenly dance just happens.
Right.
And when those moments do happen and there's people and they're just in the pocket of the moment,
Right.
you know, you just can't help but draw away. There's something primal that we're drawn to, whether it's something as simple as Uma Thurman and John Travolta on the tabletop, or like, man, I mentioned the Blues Brothers movie. One of my favorite dance sequences in cinematic history is the James Brown church scene. That there's a church scene in there where James Brown is a pastor, and the Blues Brothers are in there, and they're trying to figure out, you know, what they're doing. They get this big old video. Anyways, it's this giant cathedral church. The ceilings are so high up, and James Brown is just this pastor. Look it up on YouTube. Do yourself a favor and look this up. Man, this thing is incredible. And this James Brown, being the most James Browniest you've ever seen him, when they were filming this dance sequence, it's this, it's of course this like spiritual, and so they recorded it. And when you do a film, you're supposed to lip sing and all that because they edit the music in later. James Brown never sings anything the same twice. So they had to mic up and the actual band there and all that stuff. And they're like, well, we just have to get them performing this live. And the dancers had to kind of go with it. And the tempo was way faster than they thought it was going to be and all this stuff. And when you see that sequence, that's James Brown. I mean, he is doing that. And you feel the energy in that room is just erupting. It is erupting. I don't know if I've ever seen anything that I feel matches the energy of that scene. I mean, every time I see that scene, I think like, I want to create something film-wise with dance just because of this. I want, you know, to see if I could do something like that. That's a huge inspiration for me.
So cool. One of the more recent trailers, and Jez and I were talking about this last night, that really inspired us was the In the Heights film that's being created from the musical. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda's first Tony Award-winning show, In the Heights. They're redoing it to a film, and the trailer, I mean, whoever did the trailer should win an Academy Award. It is so good.
Yeah.
But it's just a celebration of, you know, urban life and family and culture and movement and community. It looks fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Andy Bunkenbuehler, I believe, he choreographed Hamilton. He choreographed In the Heights. He choreographed Cats, the movie, recently. Let's not blame the choreographer.
I know. You know, any choreographer would have been stoked to get that gig, you know, who's, you know. But yeah, how could you have known, I guess?
Yeah. So we're coming up again on the 11 o'clock hour where we have to transition over to our open tap class with Jez. Do we have any more comments or questions or anything you all want to talk about as we wrap up this discussion about dance and cinema?
Dance and cinema, favorite dance moments. What do you guys got for us? I'm gonna throw out Rosie Perez at the beginning of Is It Do the Right Thing? Was it Do the Right Thing? She was dancing to Fight the Power, Public Enemy.
She was a dancer on Soul Train, right?
Yeah, and she was actually the choreographer for In Living Color. She did all the Fly Girls routines. Yep, she's the one. Yeah, Keena Ivory Wayans went up to her because she was just she's a social dancer. She was just a street dancer, social dancer, and she did that whole opening sequence to Fight the Power for Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. And then In Living Color came, and she's the one who, you know, I think she cast J-Lo. She did all that. She did all the music. She did that whole nine. She's very interesting to hear talk about her career and what she's done as a choreographer with all that, the struggles she had to go through, the war she had to fight. Like yeah, Rosie Perez is no joke.
She'd be a good interview for us.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love that.
That's awesome. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today so we can transition our production over to our YouTube Live open. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Michael. And next week, we are doing sort of a COVID-19 dancer life, studio life conversation with some people and talking about how we're all doing right now in this current pandemic and how we're transitioning ourselves and all that.
Yep. Yep. I think we talked a little bit about that, about how I was very fascinated to hear about all these teachers that I know and hearing their stories about, you know, the transition from doing dance classes one way and suddenly to this format here. And yeah, and all these different obstacles and things I just never even thought of. But not only that, there are some hilarious stories, because when you get into Zoom teaching and all that stuff, there's hilarious stories. And it'd be fun to get into a lot of that stuff, the stuff that we didn't think about, the stuff that's funny, maybe stuff that's not so funny. And, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Michael. And thank you all for watching once again. We have a live feed. We'll be wrapping up here on our Patreon account. We'll be posting this conversation to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you for joining us and have a great day. Life moves, move with it.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.